Okay. Looks like okay. Shalom. Most all praise, glory, and honor to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham Rakakwa. Double honors and elders of MS, better known as great millstone who rule well. Peace and say to the hopeful elect, the tabernacle of David. And I'm your Zabath, checking in again with another video lesson entitled Understanding the 12 Tribes Chart, right? Um, let's see here, Salaki. Just need to fix this real quick. Bear with me to make sure that everything is going to be okay as we get started. And please let me know how my mic sounds on the keyboard. To the document Aqua that's listening, just let them okay, and we'll go from there. All right, let's do this here. All right. Looks like man. Okay. All right. Oh. All right. So today's topic is going to be dealing with the 12 tribes chart, and the spirit hopped on me to do a lesson deal with the 12 tribes chart because it's very important that we understand who the Israelites are today pertaining to BC. And also when you understand the prophecy, when you are able to put the pieces together, through the spirit, dealing with the apostles, the elders, the bishops, the teachers alike on down, that has taught us this 100% truth. You come to the understanding, you break down this chart that it is indeed 100% accurate. All right. But before we can get the full understanding of this chart, we have to go into the prophecy so that you can see how the 12 tribes, the bulk of the 12 tribes ended up in the Western Hemisphere. All right. Which we know, as the scriptures calls the Northland, right? North part. All right. Dealing with uh dealing with the prophecy. So before I get started, let me just check my mic. So give me a second. Okay, that should be clear now. So let me know if you get the mic. Let me know. I am jittering it around a little, so hopefully it's coming in clear. Just let me know on the comment board from coming in clear before we get started. Okay. All right. Cool. So we'll get started. So have here. All right. Is the original. All right, from the old one West GMS, but really it started in the one and basic of their high priest Ariah. Uh, there's a video of high priest Ariah on YouTube. Anybody can go and find, which he did a beautiful breakdown dealing with the 12 tribes chart. All right, so still skipping is my words. If it's still, take the mic off and I'll just speak in the background. Like I probably will do that. So Lakia, bear with me. Technical difficulties. Okay, Salakia. So hopefully, okay, Salakia. So hopefully is that better? Let me know in the comment section. Maybe that's a little bit better now. So there's no more skipping of my words. All right. So it sounds like I'm coming in clear. So basically, dealing with the 12 tribes chart, there seems to be a lot of controversy with a lot of people coming up against this particular chart. And one of the main controversies with this chart is that when you look at it, we always get the question, how can this chart be accurate when all of the 12 tribes are scattered across the four corners of the earth? So the reason why a lot of people seem to um, not approve of the 12 tribes chart is because of that main um, issue dealing with all the 12 tribes being scattered across the four corners of the earth. So for instance, a lot of people, they will agree that the head tribe, being Judah, begins with the so-called African Americans, right? But then when you start to get into the northern kingdom, it goes off rail because a lot of people don't believe the so-called North American Indians are from the tribe of Gad. They disapprove of that. They don't believe that the Seminole Indians are from the tribe of Reuben. And the reason why they don't believe it is because they'll tell you that there's no similarities with with the so-called Native Americans. Also, when you throw in Issachar here at the bottom, which is today your so-called Mexicans, they'll say, well, no, there's no way in hell that they could be Israelites because they're not dark enough, right? So you have this issue going back and forth that if you're not so-called black enough, you're not an Israelite, or if you're not, of a so-called Afro descent, there's no way in hell you could be an Israelite. So based off those narratives that I just broke down, this is the reason why a lot of people come up against this chart. But we're going to show you here today in part one, all right, which I'm going to take you through the introduction, showing you how this chart is accurate because the bulk of the 12 tribes ended up in the Americas. And we have to understand the prophecy pertaining to how this chart came about, which we're going to grab in Ezekiel the 37th chapter, right? So let me stop that and let's carry over to, let's come over here. So now let's come over here to the scriptures, all right? And let's begin in Deuteronomy the 28th chapter, verse 68, which we shall all know this precept by now, right? So it says, Deuteronomy 28:68, and the Lord Yahweh shall bring thee into Egypt again with ships, right? Now, this is not, as we know, it's not talking about ancient Egypt because you don't need ships to go from Israel to Egypt, all right? Many times throughout the scriptures, all right, our people walked across, all right? Even Yahweh Shai with his parents, his earth parents being Joseph and Mary, all right? When you get Matthew, the second chapter, they traveled, all right, from Bethlehem to Egypt, okay, to hide out from King Herod when he put out the order to have Yahweh Shai killed. All right, so you didn't need ships, right? So it says, by the way whereof I spake unto thee, thou shalt see it no more again, meaning our land, Jerusalem. All right, and there ye shall be sold unto your enemies. Where? In the land of which is now called, spiritual Sodom and Egypt, which is talking about Babylon the Great, which is America. So there we was going to be what? Sold unto our enemies for what? Bondmen and bondwomen, and no man shall buy you. Meaning, when you go into that word, all right, in the Hebrew word, all right, quanah, all right, it means to acquire, to be bought. Nobody, basically to redeem. All right, when you really go into it. All right, as you see here, the word redeemed one time. So nobody was going to redeem us. Okay. So when you go into history, such as Martin Luther King Jr., or when you go into, like, Malcolm X, all of these so-called leaders within the within our community that stood up, to try to give us a voice, to try to give us rights or whatever, all right, notice each and every one of them failed because we're under the curses. Okay. So the Lord was serious when he said that nobody would be able to redeem us. Okay. So it's very important that you understand that. So now, okay, we understand that we was going to go to Babylon the Great, which is America. All right. And we know that we was going to go there via way of ships, which that happened. Okay. Because when you go to Joel, right? Let's go to the book of if I can find it. Joel, the third chapter. All right. And Salaki, let me just get a drink of water. It's the book of Joel, chapter 3. And this is dealing with the Hamites. And also you can throw Ishmael in there because before the transatlantic slave trade, you had Ham and Ishmael. All right. They had us in the what was called the sub-Saharan slave trade, right? And for those of you who don't know that history, let's grab this here. Okay. And anybody can look this up. It was called the Trans-Saharan slave trade, which the Trans-Saharan slave trade, also known as the Arab slave trade, was a slave trade in which slaves were transported across the Sahara. Most were moved from sub-Saharan Africa to North Africa to be sold to Mediterranean and so-called Middle Eastern civilizations. A small percentage went the other direction. All right. And as you can see at the top, this is how a lot of our people ended up north of the part of the continent of Africa. Okay. A lot of people don't know that history. All right. So before we had the transatlantic slave trade, we actually had the sub-Saharan slave trade, right? And when you get Joel, the third chapter, all right, it goes into it. So let's start at verse. I'm gonna start at verse 2. I'll start at the top and read on down. It says, "For behold, in those days and in that time, when I shall bring again the captivity of Judah and Jerusalem, I will also gather all nations and will bring them down into the valley of Jehoshaphat, or Yahweh Shaphat, which just means the valley of decisions, and will plead." All right, meaning when you get that word plead, I believe is Shaphat, which means to judge. All right, with them there for my people and for my heritage, Israel, Yasharallah, whom they have scattered among the nations and parted my land. And they have cast lots for my people and given a boy for an harlot and sold a girl for wine that they might drink. And yea, and what have ye to do with me, O Tyre and Zidon, which are your Hamitic nations, right? And all the coast of Palestine? Will ye render me a recompense? And if ye recompense me swiftly and speedily, will I return your recompense upon your own head? Because ye have taken my silver and my gold and have carried into your temples my goodly pleasant things, right? And it says here, the children of the Slakia, the children also of Judah, southern kingdom, and the children of Jerusalem, northern kingdom, have ye sold unto the Grecians, okay, that ye might remove them far from their border. And that goes into the transatlantic slave trade, okay, because in this context, who is the Grecians, right? Let's get two precepts. Let's get Amos chapter 1 and verse 9. It says, "Thus said the Lord Yahweh, for 3 transgressions of Tyrus, and for 4, I will not turn away the punishment thereof, because they delivered up the whole captivity to Edom." Edom is was Grecia, okay, the Greeks. "And remembered not the brotherly covenant," right? Because during the time when King Solomon was on the scene, when he was ruling, all right, that brotherly covenant was established between, all right, the Hamites dealing with King Hiram, all right, and King Solomon. Okay. So when it talks about and remember not the brotherly covenant, that's what it means. We have made a covenant with the Hamites back then. Okay, because I believe it was King Hiram that helped build the temple. all right, under King Solomon's rule, all right. But you can, look up that history another time. So going back now, let's go from there to let's see here, Zechariah the ninth chapter, I believe. Or it might be, let's type in the word Grecian or Grecians. Yeah, I think it's Grecian, Salakia. I think it's Zechariah or Zephaniah. Let's see. Salakia, just gotta find it. All right. Might be let's see here. Zechariah 2. And actually, no, I think I had it right. Salakia, bear with me. Gotta find that precept. Oh, Greece. Yeah, here it is right here. Zechariah. All right, I said Grecian. Salakia is actually Greece. This is another precept proving that all right, Esau, Edom, all right, they were the Grecians, all right, not the original Greeks, but you get what I mean, dealing with Alexander the Great. So it says here, let's start at verse 11. It says, as for thee also, because of the blood of thy covenant, I have set free thy prisoners from the pit wherein is no water. And turn you to the stronghold, ye prisoners of hope. All right, dealing with the Israelites. Even today do I declare that I will render double unto thee. And for I have bent Judah for me, I have filled the bow with Ephraim, all right, northern and southern kingdom, and I will stir up thy sons, O Zion, against thy sons, O Greece, talking about the Grecians, and will make thee as the sword of a mighty man, all right, because you can precept that to Ezekiel, the 25th chapter, where it talks about the Israelites would do valiantly unto the Edomites, all right, roughly paraphrasing. So, yeah, that's going into that. So now that we understand, going into the transatlantic slave trade and also that sub-Saharan slave trade, let's go from there to Jeremiah, the third chapter, because you have to understand how the bulk of the 12 tribes ended over in the Americas, okay? Or America, I should say, Babylon the Great. This is Jeremiah chapter 3 and verse 18, right? And it reads, in those days, the house of Judah shall walk with the house of Israel, both northern and southern kingdom, and they shall come together out of the land of the north to the land that I gave for an inheritance unto your fathers. Now we understand, based off reading the prophecy and the curses, that we was going to be sold unto our enemies, all right, going back into Egypt via way of ships, meaning we was going to go back into bondage, right? Now, what you have to understand when you deal with history and prophecy, the first to end up over in the Americas were the Northern Kingdom. All right. And this is what a lot of people keep getting some sort of misunderstanding, or they just haven't, been taught, or they somehow missed that breakdown or missed the history. So let's actually go to the let me pull up my apocrypha here real quick, Salakia. Right. So let's go to the book of Second Esdras in the 13th chapter real quick, so that we can see how because the Northern Kingdom, they were the first ones to go over, all right, to the Americas, all right, before the Southern Kingdom went. All right. And this always gets thrown out. It's almost like anytime when we go through the 12 tribes chart breakdown, whenever we bring this information out, because it's in the scriptures, all right. But first, you have to have faith. You have to really believe this, man. As you read it, the spirit has to be, dealing with you. And you have to be under the tutelage, learning from the apostles, the bishops, the elders, and teachers alike on down. All right. Starting with the, great millstone GMS, because that's where it's at, baby. Right. Anyway, so let's get this here. Second Esdras 13. And I'm going to start at verse, let's see here. Let's start at verse 40. All right, straight to the point. Verse 40. Now it says here, um, those are the 10 tribes which were carried away prisoners out of their own land in the time of Hoshea the king, who Salmanasar the king of Assyria led away captive, and he carried them over the waters, and so came they into another land. All right. Now, in order to understand this history, if you haven't read it, all right, it will be best to you can read this history in the book of Second Kings, the 17th chapter. Right now, it goes on to say, but they took this counsel, talking about the northern kingdom, among themselves, that they would leave the multitude of the heathen and go forth into a further country where never mankind dwelt. All right. Now, the country that is referring to here, where never mankind dwelt, is talking about Babylon the Great America. All right. Or, over in the Western Hemisphere, because during this time, which you have to understand, when it talks about where never mankind dwelt, it's really talking about that, land not being governed by anybody. Now, you still had tribes, you know, traveling, seafaring people going back and forth, collecting, things from the land. All right. Prime example of that, you had King Hiram sending over, the Tarshish ships and stuff like that over there. That's why today in South America, you have all of those Olmec heads. All right. Those were the Hamitic tribes. You also had some Japhetic sons, right? When you deal with the history of the Minoans, the Ionians, which today are your Polynesian people, all right, there's relics of them actually coming over back and forth. That's how, majority of them ended up in, like such as Hawaii today and other different parts of, the continent of South America, right? So, furthermore, that's what it means when it goes on to that. So, continuing on, verse 42, it says that they might there keep their statutes, which they never kept in their own land. And they entered into Euphrates by the narrow places of the river. For the Most High then showed signs for them and held still the flood till they were passed over, right? For through that country there was a great way to go, namely of a year and a half, and the same region is called Arsareth. All right. Now, another way we can, because Arsareth simply just means another land, but this another land is referring to America. Now, another way we can prove this is when you go to, let's get this here real quick. Let's go to First Kings, and I think it's the 10th chapter. Let's go to First Kings 10, verse 22. Now, this was dealing with the time when King Solomon was ruling, and he had King Hiram, all right, this Hamite, who sent his navy of Tarshish over to the land of America. Now, it says here, First Kings 10 and 22, for the king had at sea a navy of Tarshish with the navy of Hiram. Once in 3 years came the navy of Tarshish, bringing gold and silver, ivory, apes, and peacocks. Now, notice here in this precept, it says once in 3 years. Why? Because it took a year and a half to go from where they were stationed, right, all the way over to the Americas. So when you jump back to Second Esdras, the 13th chapter, it makes sense that it's talking about the same land, because it took the northern kingdom a year and a half to reach over there, right? And then also Hiram, when you go back and you read Solomon, okay, Hiram sent his navy over there and it took them 3 years. So 1.5 to go over, another 1.5 to come back. That's a total of 3 years, right? Now, when you go into this word peacocks, all right, when you go to the Vulgate, which is the Latin, all right, let's see here if I can find it. You have here pavos, all right. Now, anybody who has been going into this and is well studied, when you go into the word pavos, right? Let's go here real quick. When you type in Pavos in the Latin, uh, right? Um, well, Salakia. No, that's not what I want. Uh, let me get this right so y'all can see. All right, it actually means turkey. To be honest, Salakia. Go back. Give me 1 sec. Let me make sure I got it right. Yeah, Pavos. All right. So just show you guys this. Pull this up so just find it so you guys can really see it. There you go. Here it is right here. Salakia for that Akim and Aquath. So when you look up Pavos, all right, translated from the Latin to English, it means turkeys. Okay. So when Hiram sent over his navy to the Americas, all right, this is what they brought back along with other, things like frankincense and all of that stuff like that. They actually brought back turkeys. Okay. They didn't, this is what they had, when they brought it back. All right. So for anybody, that wanted to question that, there it is right there. You can look it up yourself. All right. So that is going back here. All right. That's how we can link. All right. Knowing that the Northern Kingdom have went over, all right, to the Americas first. Okay. That land, which is Arsareth, which just means another land, which that another land was simply talking about America, which is Babylon the Great today. So it's very important that you understand that. All right. And as I mentioned, going back when you type in the Olmec heads, all right, for anybody that wants to know, all right, when when Hiram sent over his Navy ship, these were the Hamitic tribes that came over. Okay. And this is what they left. So every time they came over, all right, this was like I'm guessing this was like a guide. So every time that they kept coming over there, where Zebulon dwells today, over there in the Panama Canal, all right, as the scripture says that Zebulon will be a haven of ships. So when they came over, when these Hamitic tribes came over, all right, this is what they did. All right, they left these Olmec heads, man. All right, so that's how we get the understanding. All right. And we've done many breakdowns going there, but I'm just, going back to the basics, hitting a couple of points here and there. All right. Mic check 1 2 1 2. Make sure I'm good. Let me know in the comment section if I'm coming in clear. And Shalom, Yahweh Shem Shab Rakatah to the Akim Aqua tuning in and listening. All right. So now that we got that, let's go back here. All right. Jeremiah chapter 3 at verse 18. All right. Because the prophecy, we have to follow what the prophecy says, right? So Jeremiah 3 and 18 says, in those days, the house of Judah shall walk with the house of Israel, and they shall come together out of the land of the north to the land that I gave for an inheritance unto your fathers. All right. So you have to ask yourself, did this happen yet? The answer is to that question, no. We are still in the land of the north, right? So let's see what precepts Blue Letter also puts in this. Let's see here. Let's go. Yep, Jeremiah 23 and 8. It says, but as Yahweh liveth, who brought up and who led the seed of the house of Israel out of the north country and from all the countries whither I had driven them, and they shall dwell in their own land. And this hasn't happened yet, right? So we have to figure out what is that land of the north, right? Another precept, Jeremiah 31 and 8. It says, behold, I will bring them from the north country and gather them from the uttermost parts of the earth, and with them the blind and the lame, the woman with child, and her that travaileth with child together, a great company shall they return hither. Now, When you go to the book of Micah, okay, let's go to Micah chapter 4 real quick. Show you something. When you go to Micah, all right, it tells you here, this is Micah chapter 4 and verse 10 of what was going to happen to us. It says, be in pain and labor to bring forth, O daughter of Zion, like a woman in travail, for now shalt thou go forth out of the city, which is talking about Jerusalem, all right, our land, and shall dwell in the field, which that happened, all right, because when you think about between 66 and 70 AD, during when the Romans sacked the temple under the under Vespasian, Titus, all right, we fled into the mountains pursuant to the prophecy in Luke the 21st chapter, all right, which that symbolizes the continent of Africa, right? And then it says from there, and shall come even unto Babylon, all right. Now, is this Babylon talking about ancient Babylon? No, because it goes on to say there, meaning in Babylon, thou shalt be rescued, right? And there will Yahweh redeem thee from the hand of thine enemies. Now, in Salakia, that was in the ASV. Let's go back to the KJV, right? So, what you got to ask yourself, all right, because it says that we shall be delivered. This is an indication that it wasn't talking about ancient Babylon, right? Because when you understand Daniel, the 7th chapter, when he prophesied about the four beasts ruling on the planet Earth, the four heathen nations, right? When we came out of ancient Babylon, we went into another captivity started with Cyrus the Great, okay, which is the Medo-Persian Empire. And we never got delivered from ancient Babylon. We actually went from one captivity to the next captivity. The only difference was the Lord put the spirit on King Cyrus and the other kings for us to rebuild the temple. Okay, but we were still, made tributaries to the Medo-Persian Empire. Okay, so clearly, when you understand that history, all right, it makes the more sense to know that this is talking about Babylon the Great today, which is America, because it says, "There shalt thou be delivered." All right, and this hasn't happened yet. Okay, we're still yet this day in our captivity, pursuant to the book of Baruch, the 3rd chapter. It says, "And there the Lord shall redeem thee from the hand of thine enemies." So now, okay, how can we link Babylon, all right, to the land of the north? That's the question. How can we link Babylon to the land of the north? Well, let's go from there to the book of Zechariah, the 2nd chapter. Okay. This is the book of Zechariah, chapter 2 and verse 6. And it reads, it says, "Ho, ho, come forth and flee." See that? "Flee from the land of the north, saith the Lord Yahweh, for I have spread you abroad as the four winds of the heavens, saith the Lord Yahweh." And here's the point. Verse 7. "Deliver thyself, O Zion, that dwellest with the daughter of Babylon." Okay, didn't say ancient Babylon. No, the daughter of Babylon. And who's currently ruling the daughter of Babylon? Right? This is the land of the north. Who's currently ruling daughter of Babylon? Right? Let's go from there to the book of Psalms, chapter 137. All right, and starting at verse 7. And it reads, okay, it says, "Remember, O Yahweh, the children of Edom in the day of Jerusalem, who said, race it, even to the foundation thereof. O daughter of Babylon, who are to be destroyed, happy shall he be that rewarded thee as thou hast served us." So, daughter of Babylon is linked to the Edomites. Okay. And can we prove that even further? Absolutely. Let's go from there to the book of Jeremiah. And let's see here. Let's get Jeremiah. I think it's one in Jeremiah 49 and the other one is in Jeremiah 50. So let's get, I think, let's see. Yeah, Jeremiah 49 and 20. It says, "Therefore, hear the counsel of Yahweh that he had taken against Edom and his purposes that he had purpose against the inhabitants of Teman, surely the least of the flock shall draw them out, and surely he shall make their habitations desolate with them. Right now, this is Jeremiah 49 and 20, and we're going to link this to Jeremiah chapter 50, I think it is, and 45, showing you the precept. Now, remember here in verse 20 of Jeremiah chapter 49, you have here the context is dealing with Edom, right? Well, if you go to the precept to link Edom with Babylon even further, or, the daughter of Babylon, as we read in Psalms 137, this is Jeremiah chapter 50 and verse 45, the precept. It says, therefore, hear ye the counsel of Yahweh that he had taken against Babylon, and his purposes that he had purpose against the land of the Chaldeans. Surely the least of the flock shall draw them out. Surely he shall make their habitation desolate with them. Right? The least of the flock being those Amalekites that's in the land today. Okay, so here's the link showing you that Babylon or Edom is synonymous with Babylon. Okay, Edom is the one that's currently ruling Babylon the Great. So that's how we can link it. Right? So going back, let's read it again. Let's go back to Zechariah, the 2nd chapter. All right, so you can understand the land of the north. Right? Zechariah 2 and 6, it says, ho, ho, come forth and flee from the land of the north, saith the Lord Yahweh, for I have spread you abroad as the four winds of heaven, said Yahweh. Deliver thyself, O Zion, that dwellest with the daughter of Babylon. That's how you know that we are in America today, because it told you in Micah 4 and 10 that we should go forth to Babylon, and there we shall be delivered. You see? So understanding that, this is how the bulk of the 12 tribes ended up in the Americas, because you have to understand the prophecy. Now, if you want to go further, let's get Jeremiah, the 50th chapter. And I think it's the, let's see here, the 7th verse. Actually, no, it'll be, let's see here, Jeremiah 50. And let's see here. Actually, it might be Jeremiah 51, Salakia. I always get this kind of mixed up. Yeah, here it is. Jeremiah 51 and 6. All right. End time prophecy. It says, flee out of the midst of Babylon and deliver every man his soul. Be not cut off in her iniquity, for this is the time of Yahweh's vengeance, and he will render unto her a recompense. Right. And that recompense, when you go to Revelation, the 18th chapter, all right, and I believe verse 6, all right, dealing with Babylon the Great, all right, as you can see here at the top, Babylon is fallen. It says what? Reward her even as she rewarded you, and double unto her double according to her works. In the cup which she had filled to her double. Okay, and that's that recompense, man. Okay, you got to understand that that's that recompense. All right, so you see how it all links together. All right, when you go through the precepts. All right, so now that we got an understanding of the land of the north, does that, first of all, does everybody on the comment board that's watching understand how we linked Babylon the Great to being the land of the north? Before I continue, do we all have that understanding? Let me know. Get a sip of water real quick. Just let me know if we got that understanding. How we linked Babylon the Great to being the land of the north, right? So, Amos Israel, hey, can't do nothing about it. I got a cold, so I apologize if it's too much for you. Leave. You don't have to watch. You don't even have to be here. All right. You can't tell somebody to stop sniffing. All right. If you more worried about my sniffing rather than worry about the lesson that's coming out, just leave. All right. You don't have to be here. All right. So anyway, let's continue on. So now that we got that understanding, which that's the key part to understanding the 12 tribes chart. Okay. Because if you don't understand how the bulk of the 12 tribes ended up in the Americas, all right, you're not going to understand um, the actual 12 tribes chart, right? So now let's go from there to the book of Ezekiel, the 37th chapter, all right, because this is how the chart, the 12 tribes chart came about, right? So this is the book of Ezekiel, okay? And let me just, Salakia, pull this up as well. Give me a second. All right, this is the book of Ezekiel, chapter 37. We'll start at the top. So notice at the top, it says vision of the valley of the dry bones. Okay. So let's have a read. It says, the hand of Yahweh was upon me and carried me out in the spirit of the Lord Yahweh and set me down in the midst of the valley, which was full of bones. All right. Now, in this context, the valley represents a low land, which is referring to America. All right. Because when you actually go into it, all right, when you look up a low land, is situated between two planks of mountains and hills, which when you look at the scale of America, is situated when you look at especially Central America on a west, on going towards the west, you have, you know, the mountains out there on the west coast, and then going towards the east part of the states, you have the Appalachians Mountains. All right, and then everything else in the middle is pretty much lowlands, grass, and stuff like that. Okay, so that valley represents a lowland, which is actually referring to America. Okay, now these bones, okay, um, is dealing with the whole house of Israel when you go into the actual breakdown. Now, for those of you who would like to view this full breakdown of Ezekiel 37 chapter, I've already got the breakdown on my channel. You can go and watch that on your own time. I'm not going to fully break it down here for the sake of the video, because we're just focusing on the 12 tribes part. But what I want to do is when you drop down later on, all right, and verse 15, dealing with the reunion. Okay. This is what's important, the reunion of Judah and Israel. Okay. How they going to be reunited? In Babylon the Great, in America. Why? Because the bulk of the tribes are in the Americas. Although, yes, all 12 tribes are scattered. Okay. We understand that all 12 tribes are scattered, but the bulk of the 12 tribes, okay, they reside in the Americas, mainly Babylon the Great today. Okay, that's what you have to understand in order for you to understand the 12 tribes chart. If you don't understand that, of course, the 12 tribes chart is not going to make any sense to you, right? So let's read this, Ezekiel 37 and 15. The word of Yahweh came unto me again, saying, moreover, thou son of man, take thee one stick and write upon it for Judah, the southern kingdom, and for the children of Israel, his companions. Then take another stick and write upon it for Joseph, the northern kingdom, the stick of Ephraim, and for all the house of Israel, his companions, right? And join them one to another into one stick, and they shall become one in thy hand. Okay. Meaning what? When you look at the 12 tribes chart today, that's what it symbolizes. All right. Because um, before King Solomon's rule, when he ruled for 40 years, under his rule was the last time both northern and southern kingdom were joined together. But after his downfall, okay, that was the last time both northern and southern kingdom were together. Okay, Salakia. And then what ended up happening was we ended up splitting. So that's why the Lord is telling Ezekiel, you're going to take this stick, okay, which is a plank of wood, all right, and you're going to write upon it the whole house of Judah, which consists of Judah, Benjamin, and Levi, the southern kingdom. And then you're going to take another plank of wood stick, and then you're going to write on it the whole house of the northern kingdom, okay, Ephraim, which Joseph and Ephraim is intertwined with one another. Sometimes the northern kingdom will be called Joseph, or sometimes it will be called Ephraim, okay. Now, moving on, all right, it says, verse 17, and join them one to another into one stick, and they shall become one in thy hand. And here's the main part. And when the children of thy people shall speak unto thee, saying, wilt thou not show us what thou meanest by these? So this is the reason why when you brothers and sisters go out, you may do your grocery shopping, whatever, and you may stumble across an Israelite camp that may have a 12 tribes chart. This is what it was prophesying about in the last days. Okay. That plank of wood. All right. And this is why you have many brothers out there on the highways and byways with the 12 tribes chart. Okay. Because as you continue to read, when people pass by it, what is that? What does the chart do roughly to those that pass by it? It sparks up a conversation, right? So to give you an example, let's pull it up again. Let me get my chart here, right? So to give you an example, if you're out there and you're preaching, all right, and you have the chart out there and, people stumble and they look at the chart and they see these different so-called nationalities that, which the scriptures calls it a byword and a proverb, which these are names that the Edomites placed on us, right? It sparks up the conversation. You might have somebody from the tribe of Gad. They may say that, hey, what's this all about? Hey, I'm a Native American. All right. Am I from the tribe of Gad? Can you break that down for me? What does that mean? And so this is where you are able to spark up that conversation. All right. So that you can help put that breath back into the children of Israel. And this is the sole purpose of having this chart. Now, somebody may ask, what if they are an Israelite, but they don't see their nationality on the chart? This is where the debate comes in, and this is why people shy away from this chart, saying that it's not 144% correct. Where remember, yes, we understand all 12 tribes are scattered. All right, this is where you're going to have to test the spirit to see if they have the spirit of an Israelite. As the scripture says in Romans, the 8th chapter, it is the spirit that beareth witness with our spirit that we are the children of the Most High. So in that context, you would apply First John, the 4th chapter, where you have to try every spirit to see if they are. Okay, because we always say Jake is the salt of the earth. So a lot of Israelites will have the spirit, okay, of being an Israelite, right? And one example of that, all right, let's get out of here. Let's go back to the scriptures, right? And just to prove a point, let's go from there and let's go to, I believe, Second Esdras chapter 1 and verse. I'm gonna start at verse 35. The point is at verse 37. Now, this is talking about those Israelite foreigners that were scattered, and the Lord prophesied to Esdras on how those particular Israelites were going to come back, right? Now, this is Second Esdras chapter 1, and I'm going to start at verse 35. It says, your houses will I give to a people that shall come, which not having heard of me yet, shall believe me, to whom I have showed no signs, yet they shall do that I have commanded them. And they have seen no prophets, yet they shall call their sins to remembrance and acknowledge them. And here's the main point. I take to witness the grace of the people to come. All right. Notice it said the grace of the people to come, whose little ones rejoice in gladness. And though they have not seen me with bodily eyes, yet in spirit they believe the thing that I say. So when people walk up, if you have the 12 tribes chart and you're speaking the words of Yahweh Bashem Yahushua, you breaking down the prophecies, all right, you going through the breakdowns, et cetera, right? Through the spirit, they will believe the thing that you say. And that's how you can judge. Let's get a precept. Let's go here to Romans, the 8th chapter. This is when you will apply this scripture here, Romans 8 and 16. All right. The spirit itself beareth witness with our spirit that we are the children of the Most High. Because even when you get Romans, what's that? Romans 10. And I believe, what's that? 13. Yep. Romans 10 and 13. It says, for whosoever shall call upon the name of Yahweh by Hashem Yahushua shall be saved. How then shall they call on him in whom they have not believed? You see, because it starts with the spirit, man, right? It says, and how shall they believe in him of whom they have not heard? And how shall they hear without a preacher? All right. That's why it's important that, we have the apostles, the bishops, the elders, the teachers alike on down, because Isaiah, the 30th chapter, well, we'll get that. Let's keep reading. It says, and how shall they preach except they be sent? Right? Because not everybody is sent. As it is written, how beautiful are the feet of them that preach the gospel of peace and bring glad tidings of good things. Okay? Because when you get Isaiah, the 30th chapter, real quick, right? In verse 20, it says, and though the Lord give you the bread of adversity and the water of affliction, all right, because we're still in captivity, yet shall not thy teachers be removed into a corner anymore, but thine eyes shall see thy teachers, and thine ears shall hear a word, which is this truth, behind thee, saying, this is the way, walk ye in it, when ye turn to the right hand and when ye turn to the left. So you have the true men of the Lord that are out here, all right, that's breaking it down and showing you, all right, putting all the puzzle pieces together for you. Okay, that's what you got to understand. So now, all right, let's go back here to Ezekiel. Okay, so this stick, all right, that has become one, dealing with both the northern and the southern kingdom. Verse 18, again, Ezekiel 37 and 18, it says, and when the children of thy people, you see, when the children of thy people, who people? The Israelites. Okay, because during this time, remember, we were in gross darkness. We were spiritually dead. We didn't know, because what? The scripture says we shall discontinue from our heritage. So it says, and when the children of thy people shall speak unto thee, saying, wilt thou not show us what thou meanest by these? All right, meaning the 12 tribes chart. Say unto them, thus said the Lord Yahweh, behold, I will take the stick of Joseph, which is in the hand of Ephraim, and the tribes of Israel, his fellows, and will put them with him, even with the stick of Judah, and make them one stick, and they shall be one in my hand. And the sticks whereon thou writest shall be in thy hand before thy eyes. You see? And say unto them, thus saith the Lord Yahweh, behold, I will take the children of Israel from among the heathen, whither they be gone, and will gather them on every side and bring them into their own land. Now, the beautiful thing about this also, let's go to because this is how we're going to be gathered. Now, the Israelites that are in the Western Hemisphere, they're going to be gathered by hearing the word. All right. This is the book of Baruch, chapter 5 and verse 5. It says, arise, O Jerusalem, and stand on high and look about toward the east, right? And behold, thy children gathered from the west. You see, proving that we are in the bulk of the tribes are in the Western Hemisphere, the land of the north. Okay, it says, thy children gathered from the west unto the east by what? By the word of the Holy One, rejoicing in the remembrance of the Most High. Because in this same book, let's go back to chapter 2, Baruch 2, and let's see here. Verse 30, for I knew that they would not hear me, because it is a stiff-necked people, but in the land of their captivities, they shall remember themselves. You see, in the land of our captivities, we shall remember ourselves. And how we remember ourselves? By hearing the word. Okay. And if you are a part of, if you are called, and chosen, and you're written in the book of life, all right, your spirit, all right, is going to be activated to take on it, take heed to what this word is talking about. Okay. You're going to be woken up from that gross darkness. Okay. You're no longer, as the scripture says, you're no longer going to be a dry bone. Okay. Because the Lord is putting the breath back into you. You are remembering. Okay. So it starts by hearing the word, right? So now going back here, all right, now that we got that understanding, all right, And part two, Salakia, Genesis 49. And part two, we're going to go through the prophecies dealing with what was going to befall the 12 tribes in the last days. Okay, which when you go into that word, all right, last, okay, araya, okay, aha raya, all right, which after part in or latter time, prophetic for future time. Okay, so what is this saying? This is telling that, hey, this is what's going to befall you in the last days, which is what we're currently in. Okay, really, the last days started when Yahweh Shah came in the scene. So really, we're in the last days of the last days, if that makes sense. All right, so we're gonna let's go back here. What I wanted to do, I didn't want to make this too long. I just wanted to give the introduction to the 12 tribes. So what we're gonna do in part two, we're gonna go through what was going to befall the tribes in the last days, so that you can see how the tribes dealing with the 12 tribes chart, all right, how everybody that's mentioned on that chart adds up to who the 12 tribes, Salakia, adds up to who are the 12 tribes today. All right. And we're going to use Genesis, the 49th chapter, as well as Deuteronomy, the 33rd chapter. But in this part one, it was very important that I was able to establish how the 12 tribes ended over in the Americas, because if you don't understand that, you're not going to understand the 12 tribes chart. That's the reason why everything that you see on the chart, all right, and let me pull it up again, right? Let's go back here. This is why all the tribes that you see, yes, all of them are in the Americas, because you have to understand the bulk of the 12 tribes ended up in the Americas. Okay. And pursuant to Ezekiel, the 37th chapter, it said, in the valley where the dry bones. All right. That valley represents a low land, which is talking about America. And as you continue to read down that chapter, he goes on to tell Ezekiel, okay, to take that plank of wood, that stick, because this is all centered around the Israelites that are in the Americas. So, and also Judah will have to be raised up first, pursuant to prophecy. What's that? Zechariah 12 and Zechariah 12 and 7. All right, the tents of Judah shall rise first. Okay, beginning with the so-called Negroes today. All right. So we're going to end it off on that, because I didn't want this to be too long, but it was very important that we got the part one introduction of going through how the 12 tribes ended over in the Americas. And now that you understand, when you talk about the land of the north, how we linked it to Babylon, all right, and all of that sort of stuff. And part two, we're going to visit Genesis, the 49th chapter, and going through the tribes. And we're going to deal with Reuben, Simeon, and Levi, all right, and Judah. All right, we're going to deal with those four tribes. And then in part three, we'll deal with the rest of the tribes. All right. So I'm going to try to break this up into part series, because it does take a lot to go into, and there's a lot of history. There's a lot of artifacts to prove that, these different nations, okay, they make up the 12 tribes. So hopefully, all right, I was able to edify you in part one, and hopefully you got a better understanding on how the 12 tribes actually ended up in the Americas, so that you can get an understanding
why and how this chart is actually 144% accurate. All right. So I'm going to end it off there. All praise to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem Rakakwadash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone, better known as GMS. And to you sincere Akim out there that's teaching the word. All right. Keep pushing, keep the faith. All right. Keep doing the work. And Lord willing, we get out of here soon. So I'm going to end it there. Until next time, Shalom.